Hi, my question is for Pauline. Now, you've called for a royal commission into Islam to determine whether Islam is a political ideology or a religion. Can you please explain what constitutes a religion and what constitutes a political ideology, and why Judaism, Christianity fall under the banner of a religion, even though Islam, Judaism and Christianity all stem from the Abrahamic faith?
Islam does not separate itself from political ideology, and whereas the Christianity under the Westminster system, we separate the rule of law from the state. So they are separate. Islam doesn't. And a lot of the countries that are ruled under Islam is their ideology, the political ideology. Now, I understand Islam does not believe in democracy, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly or freedom of the press. You have Hizb ut-Tahrir that preaches the fact that they will want total control of the people.
Pauline, can I just interrupt you there? I mean, can you make such a blanket statement, Islam doesn't believe in democracy, when north of Australia is the biggest democracy in our region and it's Islamic?
Exactly. No, look, I don't believe that. I don't believe that because you've got a lot of countries around the world, they have a political ideology that want to control the people. Now, I want to see a separation of the two.
You don't think that's true? You don't think that's true of Indonesia, though, do you?
I think they control the people and their beliefs. I really do. And the people are controlled by it. You know, we are a Christian country, and I don't believe that Islam is compatible with our culture and our way of life. And that's why we have problems in Australia on the streets. And a lot of people are opposing the mosques that are built here.
Can I just let Cindy Rahal, I think, probably wants to get back in to answer. You've been listening to this. What do you think?
I think that Muslims in Australia have constantly been telling people like you and who support you that that is not what Islam is about, and it's falling on deaf ears. And I think you have very selective hearing, and what you're creating is not one nation, you are creating a divided nation. If you want to have a look at creating one nation, you need to look at ways we can include everybody, all the Muslims and any other religion as well. You have a very one-track mind, and unfortunately it's very dangerous.
We have terrorism.
Okay, thank you.
We have terrorism on the streets that we've never had before. We've had murders committed under the name of Islam, as we have the Lint Cafe, Curtis Chang, and the 2 police officers in Melbourne. Right? So this has happened. You have
Can I just say,
Pauline,
I'm sure the fact checkers will be onto this, but when you say we've never had terrorism in this country before, that's simply not the case. The 1970s, there were multiple bombings by Croatian Catholic extremists. This has happened in Australia before. It's not the first time. We should at least get that straight.
All right. I accept that.
I'd just like to say that you're in a position now where you can make a change. I think you should use that position positively instead of driving this fear amongst the community. Why don't you look at domestic violence? Why don't you look at education? Why don't you look at health? You're in a position that many Australian women would envy you and would like to be in that same position. Why are you pushing this agenda and pushing fear into our community and making people like myself and my friend here worried to come into the studio because of protesters outside?
Protesters were nothing to do with me. The protesters were there against me.
Pauline.
Okay, Cindy, we're just going to let Pauline Hanson just quickly answer that. I'd like to hear from the other panellists as well. So, Pauline, a brief answer, if you wouldn't mind.
With what question about the protesters outside? The protesters were against me because I choose to speak up against this matter. So I have protesters which are trying to shut down freedom of speech. You know, I want answers to the questions. People in Australia are in fear because they can't walk in the streets. They're fear of terrorism, which is happening around the world. Why? Because of Islam. Because you have the radicalisation. We just all spoke about radicalisation is actually happening in Australia. Who is it under? On what religion? So-called religion. So we actually have to find the right answers to this so we can all live in peace and harmony.